It's the Denver Broncos, and this is another team that kind of you could say they trade a lot of their picks for Russell Wilson, but I believe didn't Denver trade it back into the second round? Yeah. So I don't know if they traded back into the second round or what it was with the Russell Wilson trade, what all went into that, but they were in the second round and they selected your boy, Nick Bonito, the linebacker out of Oklahoma, followed up by a tight end that I've seen people have him as the number one tight end in this draft. And then Damari Mathis at the cornerback. Really, it's headlined by those two guys right there, Nick Bonito and Greg Dulcich. I really like Greg Dulcich a lot.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of his tape. Like I said, he was ranked as the number one tight end by a lot of people over a Trey McBride. His production at UCLA obviously wasn't like what people were loving, but he brings what Denver could like. And we've said this on many shows. I don't think Albert O is going to be the guy. And Dulcich at 6'4", 243 is going to fit perfectly, I feel like, in that Nathaniel Hackett offense. Blocking, not really his thing. Receiving is his thing, and that'll fit perfectly, in my opinion, in that Broncos offense. What was your GPA for the Denver Broncos?
My GPA for the Denver Broncos was a 2.5, and honestly, with what they had, they should be happy. It's just like any other team that has given away a lot of draft capital to do something big in free agency. You have to hit where you can, and I think their first two picks were really good. I don't know much about Damari Mathis yet, but DeLaron Turner-Yell from Oklahoma, the safety, I think that was a better pick than the two ahead of that. But you talk about Nick Bonito and then Ioma, who was a rookie. They got themselves some depth on that edge, and that's something that they're definitely going to need. So, for what they like the Raiders, they had a little draft capital. They were able to get a lot done in the back of that draft with what they had. But up top, they got their needs. They addressed them quickly, and then they went ahead and got best player available that could surround some depth on some needs.
You really hated their lower half of the draft. You really hated their lower half of the draft.
It doesn't excite me. And then, like, Montrell Washington from Stanford. So I get it. So, for instance, for me, like, we talk about the receivers, right? They're going to get a Cortland Sutton back who's healthy. They're going to get a KJ Hamler back, hopefully healthy with the torn ACL. Hopefully that speed is still what it is. We're still waiting on Jerry Jeudy. He's got great route running, but had a problem dropping the ball. We understand that sometimes that's part of the game. So you would think if they really had the idea to go to get a receiver in the fifth round, I think David Bell was still there at that point in time. That would have been a great receiver for them to go and get. Why not maybe go grab yourself another tight end? Jelani Woods he went earlier in the draft. Go grab another one. Albert O is great for blocking, and he's great for being around the red zone and being that big tight end. But through the 20s, I'm not seeing much of Albert O in my future, if you know what I'm saying. And then, of course, Russell Wilson, It's not what he needs anyway. So Russell Wilson's one of those deep ball guys. So now, with that being said, me and Sam Washington know this much about each other. I know his name because it was talked about. He's never heard of me. So that's about it, But with that being said, just looking at what they were doing down in the back half after the fifth round, and it just seemed like they were up to the podium. Let's pick a guy that maybe some depth may pan out, and we're not losing much sleep over it if they don't.
Yeah.
So I didn't lose much sleep over it, giving them these grades.
Well, that's why I think too, when you're looking at some of these grades, and especially for us, because we did a lot of coverage on this pre-draft process, we were high on a lot of guys, and a lot of those guys kind of fell in this draft, and that kind of caught us all off guard a little bit. I mean, we talk about Justin Ross. We talked about him at length on our show at one point because we were high on him, or at least I was high on him. And you look at like the receivers, and when you're judging these teams and the way that they drafted, it's like, okay, you draft him when who else is on the board? Even though these guys went undrafted, I still am higher like on a Justin Ross than a Montrell Washington. Like, I'm sure maybe Montrell Washington, maybe Denver really liked him. But like I said, there's other guys on the board here. I would have much rather Justin Ross over Montrell Washington.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And then the cornerbacks. You look at the cornerbacks. You guys know how high on Mario Goodrich I was. I just don't think that, like, it's like maybe you like these guys, maybe you've scouted them enough, maybe great fit, whatever. I think the player's potential and the player's skill outweighs these picks and makes me think, because I mean I gave all their cornerback picks I gave their other cornerback pick a D, because I'm like, yo, Mario Goodrich is still on the board there. How are you passing on him for Faion Hicks, the cornerback out of Wisconsin? I don't get it, man.
Mario Goodrich is going to make somebody very happy, Vinny. Don't worry.
I sure damn hope so, man.
Maybe he'll find his way to the Jags. Silence. Got
He's
it.
On the Eagles. He's on the Eagles.
Well, yeah, they probably going to let him go.
He's never leaving the Eagles because the Eagles would never get rid of him. He's going to be a 15-year veteran. He's going to be a 15-year veteran. Happen. All right.
So I agree with this with what Joey B says about the Broncos drafting a late round QB and have him taught by Russell Wilson. I think that would have been a good idea for him. Maybe they just think it's too soon, to get rid of Drew Lock. You bring in Russ and then to draft a QB the same season. Now, with him being a veteran, he would understand why it is. He knows he has nothing to worry about, but maybe they just think it's a year too soon. But here's the thing. Does that mean you were definitely doing it next season? Because next season should be loaded with QBs. Or why not go in the undrafted free agency and grab one of those QBs that was there? Because after next season, I don't really know what there is to brag about when it comes to quarterback play. And for the Broncos, their worst thing could be, even if they get a Super Bowl out of it, to go back into 7 to 8 years of what happened after Peyton Manning. So I agree. Yeah. It could have looked at a QB later in the draft. Some of these guys that went, like Skylar Thompson and David Ellaby was still out there. Yeah,
they all fell. I mean, look at the quarterbacks Carson Strong went undrafted. Could have went for Carson Strong in the 7th round and developed him behind Russell Wilson for 3 years.
Faion Hicks was there.
Hey, come on, man. And that's the thing. You look at these picks though, and you're like, you went that route.
It's deep. But again, maybe for them, it's just as deep as it was for us. They're like, I like that name, Faion. We never had a guy named Faion in Denver. Let's go ahead and get Faion. Put him on his roster.
Not enough Hicks in Denver. That's what they wanted. That's what it was. That's what it was.
Well done.
All right, let's take a look at our overall GPAs here. Now, this is not just my GPA. It's not just your GPA, but Aaron did make and grade all these draft selections here. We've combined our GPAs here, and it looks like this. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs rank among the highest teams at a 2.95. Followed up by the Chargers, then the Broncos, and the worst of the worst was the Raiders. But we obviously know that the Raiders, F them picks, right? That's where we're at with the Raiders, right? They have an excuse.